right,
Good.
I guess I can start. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining. So my name is François and I represent Storyblok, a headless content management system. But today we are here to talk about one of our amazing clients, Winparts. They recently undertook a transformation project to modernize their SAP Commerce system. And we are really here to hear about their story. And in the panel, joining us today, we have Marcel, the CTO at Winparts.
Hi there.
We have Stefan from SAP, Enterprise Architect Director. And last but not least, we have Ben from Brave Bison, Growth Director. So thank you for joining us today.
Of course.
So we are going to go through the challenges, the strategy, as well as understand the solution that were put in place in order to make this transformation happen. And just to get started, Marcel, could you really explain to us why really made you consider moving to a headless commerce architecture?
Yes, thanks, Rosa. First of all, we had a platform which is really outdated, spaghetti code and no framework, etc. So we've been growing year over year like 30% and continue to do so, but we saw the pitfalls of a system like this. We couldn't grow much further, so we actually had to make a choice. This platform couldn't grow for us. That's why we had to do something.
Okay. And maybe if you can give us a little bit of context, Stefan, actually, what is Composable Commerce about and why is it becoming so popular at the moment?
Yeah, sure. So obviously when we begin to talk about Composable Commerce and Headless Commerce, we all know what that is. It's a separation of the front end from the back end processes to give more agility and also to have a better customer experience. But I think it's always good to revisit actually why that has come about and then how that has been evolving, especially over the past 10 years. So we see that even if you go back 10 years ago, it was possible with to separate out your e-commerce platform from the front end and use like an enterprise CMS. So even at that time, we recognized the need to have a separation of concerns and that we could focus on deliver a better customer experience and even be able to evolve with the changing technologies in the front end and not be tied into the back end, the e-com platform. If you go back to the kind of original set of enterprise e-com platforms, back in the zeros and also in the 2010s, such as Oracle, IBM, and Hybris, we used to ship with a kind of an all-in-one capability, kind of monolithic by today's standards, but at the time it was great to be able to quickly deliver a working website, maybe with a type of CMS, maybe a bit clunky, but what we quickly discovered was that we needed to be able to evolve quickly with the changing technologies in the front end and give customers a better experience with better kind of CMS tooling. So now we kind of fast forward to now and we see that composability is evolving to give even more power to the front end. That's where we truly need great composability. That's where we need to be able to plug in a different search, a different merch, and be able to deploy a front-end technology that will enable us to kind of evolve with the change in there, such as using a provider like Alokai that will enable you to have that type of composition, and then also a CMS focused on delivering a business users the types of capabilities they need to deliver a great content and a great customer experience. So how that relates back to now, we just see it continuously kind of evolving. And then in the case of like SAP customers, we're saying maybe don't, re-platform, throw away your working back-end processes, your working commerce platform, but evolve and compose where you needed to with the likes of Alokai and Storyblok, and yeah, Marcel at Winparts has been able to talk to that as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And going back to you again, from the Winpart perspective, like how did it change the business operation and the customer experience overall?
Customer experience is greatly improved. We measure a lot on all the platforms that we have, be it outdated or the newest one. Actually, just half an hour ago we went live with the newest version, multi-store, etc.
Good job.
Good one, and there we measure actually exactly what the customer does in what stage, and this greatly affects how we can actually make improvements per sprint, so it's really experiment-based. If we have enough volume by the end of next year, we could do an A/B test per day and do an improvement every day. And that's something that wouldn't be possible with the legacy system or with an off-the-shelf system. So for this we actually have to have the modern platforms connected to an e-commerce platform such as SAP, which we use in the back end heavily, and all the other components are composable on top of it.
Okay, thank you so much. I mean, we're talking about obviously going to new markets, scaling, etc. I would like to get your perspective, Ben, on this side of things. Like, how do headless commerce is actually helping when it comes to flexibility and delivering more scalability to companies implementing it?
Yeah, well, without sort of stating the obvious, a lot of the vendors are here this week at the conference, but what sort of Mac architectures, Composable Commerce has done is, over the last 2-3 years, we've seen an explosion of best-of-breed capabilities that have come out of the market, some that are leveraging AI now, but generally are now trying to focus down on doing one thing really, really well. And for Winparts especially, what that's meant, if you look at content management, for example, there's lots of options out there. We had to move very quickly. The decision was made mid-project, I think, of which CMS to go for. In terms of content, different pieces coming together, it's in the billions. If you take all the landing pages, PDPs, PLPs, SEO, so specific pages, there's billions of combinations. We've got over 10 languages planned. So Composable Commerce, Storyblok in itself there was selected because one, it could handle that sort of volume, that sort of scale. It had very strong capabilities in terms of multi-language where you wanted to go, and I think even more importantly, it had a very easy entry level in order for us to be able to get an environment, get that spun up, to start doing with things, but very transparent journey towards enterprise. So as more markets are launched and that goes up, it's a platform that's going to be able to scale with the business. The same thing can be said on search. Again, lots of options out there that are using AI to drive, much sort of richer product discovery for customers, all these different combinations. How do they find what they need? How do you make smart recommendations to them and things like that? I mean, actually in this case, we stuck with the Elastic Stack because that was already in place. But again, that's the strength of Composable, of Headless, that we're protecting that prior investment that still added value for you as a business, and just kept that as it is and plugged it into the new platform. I could go, the list is sort of endless. I mean, for the Winparts project, the other one was payments. We selected Molly, very strong, but I think we went live with around 8 payment methods when we launched. But you've got these sort of modern specialist payment solutions that improve checkout conversion, preferential rates, local payment methods for particular geographies or markets that are preferred, and giving the customer the flexibility of what they need. So, Composable Commerce unlocks this whole space in terms of whatever it is that you want to do. We haven't even got to PIM, we haven't even got to all these other areas, but wherever you want specific capabilities, you now have this array of choice that you can just very simply plug in existing integrations, low-code, no-code connections, and I'll expand on that a bit more, I think, in a bit. But yeah, that's sort of where the real benefit of Composable
If I can look into that, yes. It's all about flexibility, because obviously SAP as a platform offers almost all of the options we could use. However, we're very ambitious and we have high standards on everything, so some of the solutions that you offer didn't work for us or not well enough. So we were looking in the market, what other options do we have? And luckily in the Composable we can say, well, we plug this in and we don't use that. And we can switch it around. So for example, now obviously we're using Storyblok, but yeah, who knows in the future, we might be able to switch CMS. Not that we intend to, but it's an easy option.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for adding on. And just now, looking back, obviously, at this beautiful story, amazing story and case, like I imagine you came across some challenges as well. Can you tell us a little bit more about like what were there and how did you kind of,
One of the challenges was with Storyblok, because there was no out-of-the-box connection between View Storefront Alokai and Storyblok. But we were clear that we wanted to connect both of them, so we had to build that integration ourselves, which isn't hard to do, but that's one of the hurdles that we have, for example. And every solution, you're very good at what you're doing, but we have to work with what you're offering. So we also have to understand your product very well, training our team from different companies. If it was all an SAP solution, we'd all talk to SAP, that would give us one single solution, and now we have to create a solution for Storyblok, for Elastic, and etc. So that's one of the challenges. Also, the go live is always challenging because you have now many more puzzles that you have to put live and that have to be orchestrated and go live at the same time and understand each other's language.
Perfect, thank you so much. And maybe going back again to SAP and you, Stefan, can you tell us a little bit about the critical technical component in order to integrate SAP with those commerce?
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, already since years ago, we have, REST API for commerce and for order management, and generally in the context of a composable project, your back-end integration back into SAP is kind of already done, or there's not a lot you have to change there. I think what we've seen over the last few years is also realization around the commerce platform, how composable that itself needed to be versus where your composability is needed in the front end. So it's changed from thinking, oh, I need a perfectly componentized microservice-based commerce platform, to saying maybe if I have a REST API, I can plug it into the likes of Alokai, and then do some composition from there and plug in the likes of Storyblok. So what becomes important is, do you have a kind of partner that knows how these technologies fit together, is certified in them, understands what is needed, and then you have to make the right choice yourself from your own business needs, like Winparts have done, to say, well, this is actually what we need in our vision for composability.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you so much. And Marcel, if you think about now these architectures that you have built up, how does it set you up for the future?
Everything's very scalable. So, as I said in the previous setup, which is still running, it's not scalable at all, or not in the scale that we want to. Mm-hmm. And now we are. And SAP also helped us in this. For example, SAP had several modules, and you have processors assigned to all those parts. We found out that, hey, the front end, we're not using it, but it's still assigned 8 cores. Let's put them to the e-commerce package. So we actually have a brilliantly performing backend at the moment.
Perfect, thank you so much. And when it comes to the innovation and the trend, whatever you foresee in the future when it comes to the commerce, headless commerce space, then what would be your opinion on that? What is coming up next?
Well, I think it's more of the same, but at a much greater pace. What we've seen is that the transition to headless over the last few years has become much more achievable. Over the last few years, it's amazing the amount of brands that we've spoken to who have failed to move over to a headless architecture. What we're seeing now with these composable storefronts are out-of-the-box integrations, out-of-the-box templates, componentry that, with the right knowledge and skill set, it shouldn't be a scary transition anymore. And as Marcel said earlier, what that unlocks now is a much greater test and learn approach of how is this moving the dial within the user experience, the customer journeys that's happening, is it actually increasing revenue amongst the targets that we have. And now you add AI into the mix and kind of what's possible and the speed of it. I think we're into a really interesting time. I mean, for the last over 5 years, I think at these conferences, everyone's been talking about how B2B are trying to catch up B2C, and B2B buyers want more of a B2C kind of buying journey in terms of where they are. And what we've seen now with this sort of new ability and what composability enables is that suddenly B2C clients have just sort of are going to leap ahead now. What is possible with AI and sort of headless, that agility is going to get so much more. So I think we're going to see another sort of wedge opened up between sort of B2C and B2B experiences, and your parent organization is a mixture of both, and we spoke about it earlier. I think that divide is widening again of what the ability is. So there's going to be a real, I think, sort of fight for those that have been left behind not to be left further behind, and those that have made the investment now have the tools to really move much faster and being able to personalize, test and learn, things that have been spoken about for years but are now becoming actually obtainable.
Okay.
Yeah.
And maybe Stefan as well, from your perspective on the innovation part and SAP, like what are the kind of features, functionalities that you will foresee coming as well, related to AI in particular?
Yeah, so SAP is investing a lot in AI across the core kind of ERP landscape and our business technology platform, but also in CX. So they've developed a kind of standalone CX toolkit that will integrate across the CX portfolio. And then if you were to look at just maybe commerce on its own, there is a lot of focus on trying to optimize and help out automate some of the, for example, the translations within the product information management in there. So AI being used to help kind of like generate additional content and optimize the process to kind of release it. So everything is about getting faster, cheaper, better, kind of more readily available content out to the customers that's more targeted to them. So that's what we're focused on.
All right, really interesting. And Marcel, maybe in this whole world of composable commerce, what are the upcoming future projects that are making you excited about?
Well, one thing I'm thinking about is we sell car parts for home consumers, so you're standing by your car, something is missing, you need some product and you have your phone in your hand because that's what you have. How can we make use of that combination, you being at the car with your cell phone, you need a part, so why not point your camera at the part that's broken and the camera will tell you, together with a prompt, actually what part you need. So that's also combining, we have a lot of product knowledge, what product fits what car. You have the knowledge about your car, but you might not be very specific on, well, the engine type or anything that's in there. It could be very complex. And leveraging all that together would really help. And of course, we're not building it. There are other people that enable us to do this. And that for me is the biggest win in the whole composable. In the past, we built a CMS, we built an ERP, we built a CRM, scrapped that and met the guys that know really what they're talking about, built their platform, and we make use of it. So the expert knowledge would be with Storyblok, not with us, we just integrate with it.
Excellent. And on the rest, like Ben, maybe you'll have as well other trend innovation that you see as well while talking to clients, advising them on this headless commerce perspective as well?
Yeah, I mean, not really to build on beyond what I've just said. I think where we are as an organization, I think we're seeing the split happening in two ways, of those who are lucky enough to build greenfield projects and really kind of build from a blank canvas and be very flexible and nimble. But for a lot of the organizations that we help, the big sort of B2B customers, the complex B2C, who are really struggling to justify in the current economic climate, like how do we get off this old platform without spending a whole load of money? So just building on what I was saying earlier, really, I see the trend now that this initial leap, what sort of composable storefronts is kind of unlocking, that then allows you to play around with your back end a bit more in terms of where you want to. I think we're just going to see that accelerate over the next few years within those particular businesses. So I think that's where we see our focus.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Ben. Thank you, Stefan. Thank you, Marcel, for joining today. We really hope that you found this conversation really interesting, inspiring as well for you. And we hope we will be around as well if you have any questions related to this customer journey in particular to answer. Thank you so much again for joining.
Thank you.